West Newbury, but we thought, geez, we should probably try to get together with our friends from Georgetown, Boxford, and Newbury and see if we could have a regional event. So here we are. So tonight, we have a chance to meet the two candidates, as I explained. It's going to be a very simple format. I'm going to be the moderator and ask some easy questions. As you're listening and you develop a question in your mind, you're certainly entitled to ask questions also, but we would ask that you would write them down. I believe each table should have some index cards on there. So you write down the question and submit them to Missy.
The question should pertain to the seat, not overall Republican issues, just this particular office.
Not North Korea.
No. Thank you. I have an
I wanted to ask about Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, we all have an opinion, but you know what? That's for after this meeting, okay? So the format will be each candidate is going to have 10 minutes with an opening statement. Then we're going to roll right into a 5-minute round where they'll be asked the same question and we'll alternate back and forth. If we have enough time or not enough time and a lot of questions, we're going to go into a lightning round where they'll have 2 minutes to answer a series of questions. At the end, they also will have 5 minutes to wrap up. Okay? So any questions from the audience to me about the evening and the agenda and any other questions you might have? Okay. So we're going to open up, Dianna is going to go first.
Thank you. First, I'm going to read a short statement. So let me talk to you directly, like our President Donald J. Trump does. I realize that some in this room don't like me. They're annoyed by me, right? They think I'm too loud, I'm opportunistic, I'm different, that I don't know my place. But these criticisms aren't just aimed towards me. The grassroots people have been told this for years. I'm disliked because of what I represent. I represent the grassroots. The people skeptical of the establishment. The people who want their voices heard. You want to get Warren out of office, yeah? Everybody? Yes. You want to re-elect Baker to the governorship?
Yeah.
For those who agree, then the people in this room and the people who lead our party are going to have to open their ears, listen, and extend an olive branch to the grassroots. The grassroots people are behind me. Make no mistake about that. I'm not talking about the people who are appointed special positions, attend fundraisers, endorse one another. I'm talking about the actual voters. And these voters are angry at what this race has become. This race is about power, pure and simple. And many do not wish to give up that power. And they'd rather destroy the grassroots before ever giving up a cocktail party. This was never about me. This was and has always been about being a voice for the people and making a difference. People whose lives are affected by decisions made by a few. People who want to be involved. They want to shape their own futures, their destinies, and those of their children and their grandchildren. Yet many of these people have been turned away by our Republican Party. You can moan and you can disagree, yet it's the truth. People don't like the truth. People here don't like the truth. But the grassroots have been pushed around so much that they would rather vote for a Democrat just to show Governor Baker that he's beholden to the voters. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't. But they look at this race and they see the same old, same old. The Boston Marathon bombing was a wake-up call for me. That singular moment awoke the patriot in me that had lain dormant for so long. It was time to get involved. Nothing was different about me. My values and my feelings about God and my country, that hadn't changed. Yet the need to actively defend my country burned inside me. I was a novice when I began volunteering for the Trump campaign. However, I'm intelligent and grasp new concepts quickly and easily. I could clearly see the value of using the Trump energy and the Trump enthusiasm to build our network. A network of Republicans and those who would become Republicans. I visualize the benefit of this networking for future Massachusetts elections, both locally and regionally. Yet that was not the goal of our party, nor the goal of the Mass Trump campaign leadership team. That was a huge mistake. Despite the naysayers, I forged through and I created a grassroots network that spans Massachusetts from the north to the south, from the east to the west. Our team, as I like to call them, is varied and includes many different people, and many of those people are subject matter experts. And these are the subjects that matter to the grassroots folks right now, today. And many of these important matters that matter to the grassroots folks are not being addressed by our party. I can tell you that because of this, the grassroots folks are very, very unhappy. This group is made up of Republicans, Democrats, and enrolled voters. It's also made up of people from all races, backgrounds, groups, etc. I can also tell you that their unhappiness will lead to decreased voter participation in the 2018 elections. Our Republican governorship is on the line, as well as the Senate. That's on the line too. And if we want to beat Warren, it's time we shape up and respect the grassroots. For those of you who don't know, in 2014, our Republican governor only won by 40,000 votes. Voter turnout at that time was less than 50% of eligible voters. With the increase in the mostly left-leaning millennial voting pool, which is expected to be 40%, get that, they are going to be 40% of eligible voters in 2020. If we don't appeal to the grassroots, the survival of our Republican governorship is at risk. The party needs grassroots people, and the grassroots people deserve to be part of the party. For those of you who don't know, I've done many other things in my life in addition to building the grassroots network in Massachusetts. I directed and coached a junior track team of 200 children, 25 coaches, without knowing a single thing about track. And I did that for 7 years. I coached, I managed countless victorious flag football teams without knowing anything about flag football. I'm currently in my 12th year. I also play, and I'm very, very good. I also saved lives, literally, as a nurse. And 4 of those lives I saved on the phone. I was on the phone talking to people and got them to a hospital. I designed, patented, trademarked, and prototyped my invention, which is almost ready for marketing. I obtained my license to carry and helped over 40 people in this state get theirs. I helped people in other towns and cities across the state join their Republican town and city committees. I helped people switch their party to Republican. I helped Republican candidates across the state with their races, all while I was helping Donald Trump, and Manny Martin is one of them. I also connected with folks in Texas when I was at the inauguration. And those people in Texas, I've been working with them for months. They want to pour millions of dollars into the fight against Warren in Massachusetts. So, I am well qualified for this position. It doesn't matter that Amanda has been in this arena 2 years longer than me. It didn't matter that our president didn't have any political experience either, because he's up there now, right? Right, Janet? It also didn't matter that he used to be a Democrat, but everybody knows the drill. Back the insider. I have been told by many in this room that this event was going to be an attack on my character and an attempt to purposely muddy the waters of my message. That happened in Gloucester a couple of weeks ago. I will not allow that to happen here tonight. I want to engage all of you, sincerely, one-on-one, without any filters and without any disruptions. Therefore, you can either message me on Facebook at Dianna Ploss with 2 N's, or you can send me an email and my card is right up here. Finally, I am not going away. I'm not going to stop fighting for our right to be in the Republican Party. You can either embrace me or choose not to. Either way, you all have a choice to make on Monday. The choice you make will resonate with the grassroots team throughout Massachusetts. It's up to you to decide which message you want to send them. We want to be in the party, but are disgusted what has been going on. I mean no disrespect. I thank Missy and I thank Scott. But I do respect the integrity of my message, my message. With that, thank you all for coming. It means a lot to me. Good night.
I have a question. Could you please tell us what you stand for, what you hope to bring to the party?
We're not doing that yet.
Okay, what needs Amanda to do?
Okay,
Amanda's got her own 10 minutes to say what she wants to say.
all right. Well, hello everybody. Thanks for coming. I've met many of you. I walked around the room and said hello to many of you, and some of you came in late. So for those I haven't met, my name is Amanda Orlando Kesterson, and I am the chairwoman of the Gloucester Republican City Committee. My speech is going to have a slightly different tone. I'm happy to be here tonight, to have been given the chance, organized by Missy and Scott, to talk to you about my ideas for growing this district and Republican presence here. I grew up on Cape Ann. I'm a lifelong Republican, and I went to school in Manchester by the Sea. So being here is actually nice because every year, for those of you who are familiar with the district, Manchester and Georgetown play each other on Thanksgiving Day in a football game. So I come here every other year. We always lost, but it was fun anyway. And I talked to you about that because I think it's important to remember that in this race, one of us is actually from this district and knows the people here and knows the towns here and has connections here. And while we can toss around words like grassroots and team and coach, if we don't understand what those words mean, then we're not going to be able to use them productively to grow our party. Grassroots means local political involvement. And you don't get much more local than the way I became involved in politics, which was in, I sort of tangentially was involved posting on Facebook and writing letters, but in 2012, in the summer, I walked up Main Street in Gloucester with my 3 sons who were 2, 4, and 6, pushing a double stroller, with my 6-year-old walking next to me, and I looked over and there was a table that said, Gloucester Republican City Committee. And I walked over and I said, there are Republicans in Gloucester? Really? And I got on the email list and then I went about my way. And I went about living my life in Gloucester. And a couple months later, President Obama was reelected, and I was very, very upset. And I decided, on the urging of my brother, Joe Orlando, get involved and do something positive and be the change you want to see in the world. That's as local as it gets. I joined the committee and I had no political experience, and I listened to the members who'd been doing it longer than me, the people who understood how to get a message across in a positive way and how to grow the committee, and I learned from them. And I rose through the leadership of the team, and I became the treasurer, and I became the chairwoman. You know, when you toss around words like coach and team, it's interesting. I've been on a lot of athletic teams. I played field hockey, I played softball, my brother's been a lifelong athlete, my dad was a lifelong athlete. I've never seen the coach attack the players. And it's very important to remember that when you're part of a team, we can have respectful disagreements. But the way that we approach those disagreements and grow from them is how we sustain ourselves as a team. Going after our own and being divisive is never the path to success. And it's far as grassroots political activism, I've knocked doors in Gloucester. I've shaken hands one by one. I've made the phone calls. I've held the signs. And I've done it with a great group of people who just wanted to make a positive difference. And that's what grassroots activism is. And we've done it in Gloucester. And we've done it so successfully that when Charlie Baker ran for his spot in 2014 and came to us and said, listen, I need 3 points from Gloucester. In 2010, I got 42% of the vote. I need 45. And we said, okay, Charlie, we'll do it for you. And we got him 49.5% of the vote. And we did it the old-fashioned way, grassroots activism. That's what it means. In Gloucester, our committee is over 40 people. One of those members who felt extremely welcomed to join our committee was Dianna Ploss. She came to me, she asked if she could be on the committee. I said, of course. I gave her a platform to speak about her experiences on the Trump team. She did, people listened. She felt welcome. She joined at the end of February. We have added 14 new members to the Gloucester Republican City Committee in the last 2 years. That's a direct result of the efforts we make to express a positive and united message. And because we are doing it, and we are doing it so successfully, we're not just growing as a committee, we're recruiting people locally, at the local level, to run for office, for city council, for school committee, for selectmen in Rockport, for positions of, no elected positions, just get involved in boards. We're putting our members in our local government, and we're doing it because our committee is growing, we have a positive and enthusiastic message, and those people want to get involved in our local government. The truth is, when you have good people, they make good government. Our committee has members that love President Trump and don't like Governor Baker. And we have members that love Governor Baker and don't like President Trump. But as a committee, we say, we're a big tent. You are welcome here. Your opinions are welcome here. Your viewpoints are welcome here. And when we do events, we do them to support the Republican team. If you're a Republican, we're going to support you. We're not going to label. Democrats label. Democrats call people names. Republicans don't. We don't label, we don't divide. That is why in Gloucester we are growing. So what we're really here for is to figure out who will serve this district best on the state committee. Who is going to take her ideas and what we're about and apply it to the district. And I submit to you that the successful strategies we've developed in Gloucester for growing our committee, running candidates, supporting candidates both locally and district-wide, those are the strategies that I will bring when I am a state committee woman. And I will help the town and city committee chairs, and I understand exactly the challenges they face. I'm going to help them use those strategies and others to grow their grassroots activism in their town. Because the folks on the ground, the people who've lived in a community for a lot of years, they're the ones that know the people of that community. And they are the best possible emissaries for our message. And our message is strong, and it has to be positive. It has to be something that attracts people. That's what we've done in Gloucester, and that's what I want to bring to the district. So what I did was I gave you a packet, it's short, of successful strategies that we've used in Gloucester. These have all worked to grow our committee and to get people elected. We do everything with an eye towards inclusion. So on that point, I agree with my opponent. We have to be inclusive. And I have been as chairwoman of my committee. And I've been part of a team that's been inclusive. So when you hear those words and the lingo, just remember what it really means. Growing our Republican Party is going to happen from the ground up. And the person with the experience to actually grow a committee from the ground up is before you right now, offering my services to the district as state committee woman, and I would really appreciate your vote at the caucus on Monday.
have a very unusual circumstance here. The other candidate has vacated, apparently. She read her statement and has left for the evening. You know, we prepared for a lot of contingencies. That wasn't one of them. So I guess we'll take a few questions and give Amanda the chance to kind of express herself.
It's totally up to you. They can ask me the questions.
Yeah.
It's up to you. I don't need to have them filter
Just
it.
don't
That's
filter
fine.
it.
I just have a general comment, if you want to keep it real short and sweet. My name is Frank Licato. I worked on the Trump campaign since it started. And if anybody has any questions about Dianna Ploss and what she did or did not do on the campaign, I'd be happy to answer those questions in private or public or any way I can attest to many things about her and her performance in the campaign. If you ever have a question about her, and I basically during the primary election, I worked under our state director, Dean Cavaretta. During the general election, I worked closely with her.
Frank, could you stand up?
Yeah, sure.
Which town are you from?
I'm from Andover. I'm visiting the district.
So you came here for this purpose?
I came.
Yeah, I don't want to get into disparaging Dianna.
No, I just say.
No, really, I'm not going to let it happen.
Yeah, sure.
Now, if you want to tell people that you're available afterwards.
Afterwards, that's what I'm saying. I'm
Right,
available
we're not
afterwards.
going to go down that path.
But I also want to say to Amanda, I appreciate how she's made herself available to come to other RTCs, and I'm a member of my RTC, and she's taken her own time to go outside of her district to do training, and it was actually helpful in Andover, our Andover RTC, after the training at the Kowloon that I attended, it took some of her points, and we're actually putting them into play right now. So I think she goes out of her way to really give of herself her time. Even though it's not my district, I mean, she's doing that outside of her district.
Thank you, Mark. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Hi, Lisa Mingo Baker from Weston Green. No question is trivial, and also thank you for being here, giving us this opportunity. It is one thing to get members, new members, to join your town committees and public town committees and get participation that way. But what would you do? We do need all people, whether they're activists, they rally, whatever they do, whether they're feisty, whatever their personalities are, we need them. So what would you do if you should get this position you already welcome, say, Dianna Ploss to your committee, as you said, and became a member and everything. What would you do as far as finding some way to plug her in as a candidate of some sort? Because both of you are very, very good candidates, and the way I see it. And so, what would you do if you got this position to activate and plug her in and have a position for her to utilize her?
Thanks. That's a good question, actually. So this is not about Dianna specifically. My answer is going to be more using her as an example of how you would approach vetting a candidate to run for a local position, because that's what we do in the local committees. We recruit people to run for local office. And one of the things you have to figure out when you're going to anybody and asking them to run for an office is whether their experience is suited for that office. And so at the local level, when you're talking about boards of selectmen, city council, and school committee, you're going to candidates who have a certain set of skills and experiences and resume, and you're asking them to put it forward and to get your committee to support them. So first of all, it's going to have to be someone who understands the community and has lived there for a while, knows the people, someone who the community would support. Just as an example, in Gloucester, we have a really wonderful man. His name is Sean Nolan, and he's a good friend of mine now. He wasn't then. I knew him as a Republican who had been on my committee, and he owns his own mechanics shop. And I wanted him to run for the Ward 5 City Council position 2 years ago, which is Magnolia and West Gloucester, for those who are familiar with it. And he was very hesitant. He said, I don't know if I have the experience for it. And I said, you know what, Sean? You're a community guy. You grew up here in Magnolia. Everyone knows you. You give of yourself. You donate to things. Your time, and not just money, but time and effort. People really like you genuinely as a person. you will do really, really well. And Sean said, okay, and he decided to run. He took on a 2-term incumbent registered Democrat who was sitting in the Democratic City Committee in Gloucester, and Sean ran against him and beat him by almost 500 votes in just that one ward. It was because he was the right guy for the job, and the community knew it. So with Dianna, I think she has skills that can be applied to a job. As a chairwoman of the Gloucester Committee, I don't necessarily know that she would apply those skills to a job in our city because she's new to our city. She just moved here last year. But it's not to say that she couldn't, in some respect, participate in local government in a positive way if she chooses to learn and understand the committee and the community going forward. That's the goal. So I hope I answered your question, but that's how I would approach it, not just for Dianna, but for any candidate. They have to be suited for the job they're seeking. They have to have the experience that matches that job, and then we can market them in a positive way to be elected, and that's the goal.
Clifford Blake, I just want to ask you one question. This is a head on Dianna. Did she say anything like a medical problem or anything?
I'm sorry.
Did she say anything like she had a medical problem or anything like that?
She gave no explanation as to why she left. She insisted on going first. We let her go first. She had pre-planned to read a statement. She read the statement and then walked out without any announcement, without any...
I just wanted to make sure it was a medical.
No, I don't think so. She did not say anything to me. You saw her walk away.
She should have listened to her opponent. I mean, we have one opponent listen to another.
Frank, I got it.
And my question to Amanda is, one of the big things I've campaigned for different people in Mass Falls. One of the big things that our Mass States GOC does is they don't give a lot of the victory fund, that money to the grassroots, and that's going to change. And I think the state committee could be the place to get that into Ron Kaufman's ear and Keiko's ear to get it up to the money people. What would be one of your best ideas to get that money out to I know Sheila Mullins here is on the state committee, and she's working very hard getting new candidates along with some other state committees. What would be your best solution to get that money freed up and to get it out to those grassroots areas?
Well, it's a good question, and I don't totally agree that the party hasn't supported grassroots candidates or that the state committee hasn't supported it. In my experience, it hasn't been true. I've run several campaigns at the local level, one of which was my brother, Joe Orlando, ran for city council at large 2 years ago. I actually was his campaign manager. When Sean, who I just spoke about, decided to run, we had 2 others, Catherine Gooddick and Bob Wynot Jr., who had also run for state rep the year before. And in all of those situations that I had been involved with, the party, we called, the Mass GOP and the state committee members who we had at the time and asked for help, and they provided it in the form of reduced costs on postage for mailing for the candidates. They helped us buy signs. They supported us through giving us targeted voter lists so that we knew who to go and target to get people to vote for our candidates. They actually supported the grassroots candidates to a large degree. I think they could always do more. But one of the things that happens during, for example, next year will be the gubernatorial re-election campaign, and Charlie Baker and Karen Polito will be running for re-election. It actually helps the top of the ticket when the bottom of the ticket is successful, because local candidates drive voters in. So when we had a state rep candidate in 2014, he drove people to the polls, and when they were there, they voted for Charlie and Karen. So one of my big strategies when I am on state committee would be to try to coordinate campaigns to work like that, because it helps all the candidates. We have a saying in Gloucester, a rising tide lifts all boats, and it's absolutely true. So that's how we have to approach it. But I do think the state committee has done a really good job of responding to down ballot candidates and to the grassroots candidates and to the committees when they've requested help. And I think when hopefully I become state committee woman, I'll reach out to the town chairs and tell them about those resources because they may not know, and encourage them to reach out more, and then encourage the party to reach back. I think it will be a nice conduit as somebody who's actually experienced it. I think that's the question. Anybody else?
Any other questions?
You know what, someone asked, and I think this might be, someone asked what the state committee person does, and many of us do know, but there must be folks who don't.
That is an excellent question. So, the job of the state committee is to support the growth of the Republican town and city committees in the district, and to help those local candidates succeed. So, in our district, our state committee man is Luke Noble. And he is a friend of mine. We knew each other when he was the chair of the Gloucester committee before me. And Luke has worked across this district and others to support the growth of the Republican Party by supporting local candidates. I mean, he's knocked doors in the middle of nowhere just to support the Republican team. And I think that's really the model for what the state committee is. Yes, they vote on the platform for the Massachusetts Republican Party. So they're talking about some issues and what the Massachusetts Republican Party is going to stand for. And they also support our titular head, which is our governor, who's currently a Republican governor in Massachusetts. But the basic job of the state committee is to support the local town and city committees and local candidates. So the best thing we can do is put people on the state committee who understand what it means to really be part of the grassroots and to support a local committee and local candidates. That would make the most effective state committee person in any district. I really appreciate all you guys staying here to listen to me. I know this wasn't what everybody was bargaining for, so thank you for being here. I do appreciate it.
You're doing a wonderful job. We appreciate the fact that you stayed.
Well,
Really.
this is a great opportunity to talk to the voters. And, and I want to answer your questions. So if you have any questions specifically about me, my campaign, or anything you may have heard, please feel free to ask me. Lady in the purple and then the red.
I don't know if you can answer this, but if you can't be at the caucus, is there any kind of absentee ballot? You have to physically be there.
You have to physically be there and check in, yeah.
I'm going to call you on the phone. When I saw your resume and you were appointed to the child advocacy.
Yes, and your son played football with my cousin Patrick. Yep, I remember.
So what I want to know, because I think I made it clear that I think that what the government is doing to families and children in Massachusetts and throughout the country is the crime of the century. Now, you were appointed to that group, they're having no meetings. What's your game plan to make this one of the biggest, most important issues in this state?
So it's a really
We
good...
lead the way of changing CPS.
All right, it's a really good question. So I'm a former high school English teacher for 5 years. I have a Master of Arts in teaching English. So education and youth are a huge part of my life, and believing that we can support kids through really tough times. Kids need to have advocacy from all of us, not just parents. I mean, I hate to quote Hillary Clinton, but it does take a village. And where's the village? Yeah, it's not hers. It takes a village. So it's a huge part of my life, and that is why they actually appointed me to that board. And I've been very frustrated, as I explained to you, that the board has a lot of state officials on it who don't seem to be interested in talking to community members like me who were appointed to give them feedback about what's actually going on in our community. So I have actually reached out to the governor's office, and they did respond to me and said that we're going to be organizing a meeting very soon. When I get there, I'm going to be making sure that the state officials who are charged with our children's welfare are actually doing their job, because of course we know that's not really happening. I mean, it's not happening anywhere. So I saw this as a high school teacher. I see it as a mother, because I have 3 young children. They're 11, 9, and 7. And the experiences that they have in school with their friends and families, and the need for our system to be improved. And I will advocate on behalf of kids at that board when I'm helping to choose people for the public education system as part of the Public Education Nominating Council, because that's going to put good people in our schools, in our public schools. And I'll continue to make an issue of it at the local level whenever possible. Personally, in Gloucester, I was a contributing signature gatherer for the Common Core initiative, the ballot initiative to get rid of Common Core. I organized a forum at City Hall and sort of bullied all the local officials to come to it because they didn't want to. And I refused to let my son participate in Common Core because I felt it was a huge government overreach in our public education system that was hurting children, and I wouldn't let him participate. And of course, he's in 2nd grade and he's like, "Mom, this is so embarrassing. I can't be in the room with all the rest of the kids." And I'm like, "Well, too bad, you're not gonna do it." And I put it on Facebook, I'm taking my son out, and like 10 other parents did the same. And just because I was doing it and they knew they could, and the school called me and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "This program is terrible and it hurts kids, and someone's gotta say it." So that's how I operate. I'm never gonna be afraid to say it, and do anything I can.
And so my last follow-up question is, so are you aware that the thing that is harming children and families most in this state is the Department of Children and Families?
Yes, I am aware of that.
Really? What way?
Well, so I'm a Republican to the core, and so I think government can very often be downright evil. And small government is my belief, my value system, and I think anytime you put the government in charge of something, they generally mess it up. And the Department of Children and Families is a facet of our government. Now, there's a lot of really good people that work for it, and they're trying really hard to protect kids, so I'm not putting down the entire system. I think it needs to be improved. But I know a lot of folks that work for the Department of Children and Families, and they do try really hard to protect kids, and they're good people. And like I said before, good people do make good government, so we have to try to promote the good in it as much as we can, but recognize that government involvement in lives and families' lives can often be a negative. So for what it's worth, because I don't know how much role on the state committee I would actually be able to do anything about, but my other roles, you know, as part of these boards, I will do everything I can and continue to speak up at the local level as a mom.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions for me? Janet.
Okay, I have a question. I'm not sure how many people in the room are aware, but just this week, Canada passed a law that you cannot say he or she. And so I know it's absurd and it might get overruled, but the concept just is so insane. And I'm just thinking, like, you know, it ties right in with all of the sanctuary cities and all these other topics that are just so difficult to talk about locally. And how do you recruit Republicans, you know, when these topics are like, no, we don't talk about them. I mean, it's just, I don't know what your reaction is, but to me, the state committee is going to play, if this were to really take place, they're going to have a big role in what is said, and I would like to see.
This is not part of the state committee, I don't believe.
Well,
No, it's not.
Well, okay,
How is
so
it not?
I'd like to respond, Scott, if that's okay.
We're going to talk about it locally.
So I don't believe the state committee is going to take that up as an issue, nor should they. I think issues that happen in our communities are the province of the local government, and that's why our system is set up the way that it is. So as a state committee person, the best I could do, and the most realistic role I would play, is to encourage the local town and city committees to find out what's going on in their local schools where a lot of this political correctness is happening, and get involved in pushing back against it. Now, as far as, which is what I did, you know, which is what I've done in Gloucester. Now, as far as like sanctuary cities, that's a great example, and I'm glad you brought it up. So sanctuary city is actually an issue that each town and city actually votes on. So the local town committees have a say in it. In Gloucester, we have a couple of very liberal city councilors, and they floated the idea of a council order to make us a sanctuary city. And the Gloucester Republican City Committee discussed it, I think at our January or February meeting, and everybody, of course, was like, that's ridiculous. I mean, not only is it a safety issue, but there's also a federal funding issue where the new president was saying he would pull federal funding from any city that became a sanctuary city, and I think rightly so, by the way. I support him in that concept. So we pushed back very hard on social media, in the newspaper. I wrote a letter to the editor, and the effect of it was so swift that unenrolled and Democrats alike, along with Republicans in Gloucester, started calling the mayor's office, which I was, of course, encouraging them to do. And I put a status on Facebook and tagged all the city councilors in it, and they're like, thanks so much, my phone's been blowing up in my pocket all day. But they got the message real quick. And later on in that week, the mayor came out in the newspaper and said, look, if there's a council order to make us a sanctuary city, I'm going to veto it. There's no way we're doing it in Gloucester. The issue was pulled off the table. So local committees actually do have a lot of control over those issues by having the right messaging and being organized enough to push back when some of those political correct issues come up. So as a state committee person, the best I could do is encourage that local activism, grassroots activism.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good question.
She's outstanding.
Who is?
You.
Thank you. I like you. Thanks.
Good.
Scott, you can slap me if I'm out of line.
Christy, I'm just waiting.
Okay. So on this gender issue that you think is not a local issue, we have a selectman who literally kicked the Boy Scouts out of our town. They were using town facilities because of this gender and whatever. So I do think that that is something that is, and this is why Scott can slap me if I'm wrong, but I think it all comes down to the state committee. It all starts in our backyard and it moves up.
So, I don't think it's the problem. What I'm trying to say is that those issues that happen locally, Boy Scouts and schools and selectmen, that is where your town committee comes in.
Yeah, but the gender issue is going to hit the schools.
Right, and it needs to be dealt with town by town because that gets voted on by school committees town by town. So it's not a statewide initiative, for example. So the state committee person for this district, their job would be to advise the local committee on how to effectively combat on a local issue. That's the goal. So that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying it can't be dealt with locally. I'm saying that I'm not going to stand here and tell you I can change the world by being on the state committee. I can do what I can within the role of what the state committee does. And I think that that's a big role because in Gloucester, I can get more people to come to a hearing on like how long the dog leash is allowed to be, or the trash stickers, or like local issues, things, that's what really gets people jazzed up. I mean, we joke about it in Gloucester, but we had like an issue over whether you could have chickens in your backyard in Gloucester. Like, it was a big issue. It was like the chicken issue. And they had like 200 people come to a public hearing at City Hall over chickens. And you'd think, how many people really have chickens? I mean, is that really a big issue? But it really was. And so the point I'm trying to make is local things really drive enthusiasm. And guess what? They drive enthusiasm towards your political committee. So we do get, on this sheet, I kind of didn't get a chance to go through it, but we do a lot of local stuff just because it drives activism back to our committee. Even non-political things. People are like, I totally support what you did for the veterans. I want to come to your next meeting. Or I totally support what you did for the food pantry. I want to come to your next meeting. And people respond to that stuff because it's local. So all politics is local, and the state committee, in my opinion, the best thing they can do is encourage that at the most local level. Because the stronger we are on the ground, it's a bottom-up growth. We can't grow top-down, we can only grow bottom-up. That's why it's grassroots. Thanks.
Yeah, I was just going to say that perhaps some of the issues that you're asking about in this addressed through what the state committee does take and have some meetings on, and that's the party platform, which distinguishes the Republican Party from the Democratic Party. So, for instance, they have things about life, for example, in the party platform. They have things about marriage on the party platform, about encouraging, every child to have a mother and a father and not be denied that one. So So there are things like that on a global level. I love everything I'm hearing about local, but I'm just saying there is those type of issues, and I think it's fair game to ask, you know, people to be thinking about those things and filtering them perhaps up to the state committee, you know, to discuss. You know, and there are going to be things we're not all going to agree with.
Right.
We've had people who boycotted the conference and, you know, and walked out, like to say.
I'd like to say about that too, that I think one of the divides we have, which I think is unfortunate, is between I don't want to say real conservatives, I don't like to label, but we have a divide between more moderate Republicans and more conservative Republicans. And the best way to encourage our elected officials towards the right is to be strong at the local level, because like you said, it filters up, where if we have groups of people who are very, very passionate about the local issues, they're going to drive our elected officials that way. If we're not organized at that base level, the elected officials have no reason to really listen to us, and then we don't have a voice on the party platform. You know, I'm a lifelong Catholic, and I went to a Catholic college, Boston College, and I was part of the pro-life group there, and we went for, you know, twice to the March for Life in Washington, and it was an awesome, awesome experience. And I've had 3 children, and it's an extremely personal and passionate part of my life. And I know lots of folks on my committee in Gloucester feel the same way. Most of our elected officials don't reflect that necessarily, even if they're Republicans. We support them, they're part of our team, and that's important. But as activists, if you have a passion on those conservative issues like that, and you want to have a voice, the best thing you can do is get involved and push your elected officials to hearing you in a respectful and productive dialogue. That's the best we can do as a party. And if we do that, we'll grow. And that's important. So thank you for that.
Okay, it's almost 8 o'clock, so I think we'll wrap up with one more question, and I'm sure Amanda would like to stay, and anybody that wants to talk to her afterwards, she's make herself available. So is there another question for her?
So I just think we're ready to hear a closing. Thank you very much for having this tonight and inviting everyone to give both candidates. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll close real briefly. You guys have listened to me enough, and I am Italian and I can talk a long time, so, you know. I'm really proud to be a lifelong Massachusetts Republican. It's not easy, as those of us who've done it know. We're in the minority, and we're always sort of the outsiders, to use a label. We're always treated like our opinion doesn't matter. And I think one of the things people want is to be heard. And in Massachusetts, it's always been my belief that the people are not as liberal as the politicians. Let's not forget, Ronald Reagan won Massachusetts twice. And we can get back there. And we tap into a spirit in Massachusetts once in a while. We saw it in 2010 with Scott Brown, his improbable victory when he ran again to be the 41st vote against Obamacare, if everybody remembers. And he won huge in the most exciting political experience I can remember. And the reality is, here in Massachusetts, we can do that again. And we can do it over and over, because the people want that. We need to provide them the candidates to get behind, the message they want to be attracted to. We can't always be the party of no. We need to be the party that's for something. We should be the party that's for family, the party that's for community, the party that's for change in a positive way. And we can only do it if we work together. Division only breeds more division. It's not going to help us grow. So I hope I answered all your questions. Thank you guys for listening so much. And please come to the caucus on Monday. I'd really appreciate your vote.
Well, thank you all for coming. It's been a great show. The Amanda Kesterson show. So we hope that, like Amanda said, we hope to see you Monday, and don't forget to tell all your committee members to get out there and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
One thing